Nutrimedical report, and we of course have got lots of interesting stuff to talk about with Ryan. Ryan, we had a fantastic Memorial Day sale. It's actually still on today until midnight, and of course we have the 7 for Heaven sale, which is 7% on top of previous sale prices of model bottle picks, and all of our NutriMeds are free shipping today until midnight. And of course I think midnight means midnight on the East Coast, because I think when Michelle hits the sack about 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, she's probably going to shut it off. We're doing a lot of new things. I just want to make a couple quick announcements. We have for people that are sending me like tons of records and so on, I am starting to charge for consultations. And you need to fill out my consultation referral form, which I completed over the weekend. I've been promising it for a while. The book Dr. U is coming along very nicely. But I've had a pile of consults, and I'm totally swamped now. I'm at the point where help. If you're going to ask a zillion questions and you send me, tons of records, I'm going to charge for my time to review those records, MRI, CT scans, whatever, or summaries, phone time with you, and preparation of reports, whether with or without the QRMA. The QRMA, when you get a QRMA machine, you have 6 reports total. After that, there's a consultation fee charged for analysis of all of your history and your QRMA reports. Same with the ADLRS, whether I'm logging on with the TeamViewer 10 to your computer, either whether you have hydrophones on doing the test live or you have the data there. In order for me to interpret it, by the way, you cannot interpret it yourself. You'll need my interpretation in order to be able to understand it at all. You can, with the QRMA, understand a third of the data. A third requires medical understanding, and a third is completely esoteric unless you have advanced knowledge. You're not going to be able to interpret completely the QRMA, but the basic stuff's pretty straightforward for about a third of it. So, Ryan, let's talk about some of the latest things. We have, of course, our Mega Muscles amino acid powder and our Sports Energy Light Brain Mag we brought in the last few months. People are really pleased with the combination of the Brain Mag and the Sports Energy Light, and I put actually a little bit of the amino acid powder. In fact, I have a glass of it sitting on my desk right now, and I top it off with a little Nutriodine. And tell me all about this, because it's really a remarkable product. In terms of re-energizing people, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. It's one. People fall in love with it very fast because they feel the effects, It's got a very, very nice profile where, unlike normal caffeine that spikes very quickly and then dissipates very fast, what you get here is a nice rise with the caffeine being what's known as a patented co-crystal bound with methylated resveratrol, and then it has a very steady release pattern. So you basically get the benefit of, say, drinking a cup of coffee, except that instead of in an hour and a half later, you're kind of left wanting more. In human clinical studies, they've shown that this patented form of the caffeine with caffeine co-crystal is significant even at 6 hours later for enhanced energy, cognition, and so forth.
Yeah. Now, tell us some of the things that this will do for you, because it's not just an energy drink like 5-Hour Energy. It's going to protect your mitochondria. It's going to raise your mitochondrial energy production. It actually protects you from free radicals and electrolyte imbalances. These are so powerful, it has to be stored in a nitrogen sachet. You pop it out, put it in a shaker cup with water, and you're done. It's that easy, and it's a mixed berry flavor, which is very pleasant. I like to throw in with it the Brain Mag. And of course, I top it up with a little bit of my ALC 1000 and D-ribose. And of course, we're also going to be launching very shortly a special new NADH product as well that I'm working on. So tell us about this formula. This is pretty amazing in terms of what it'll do to stop things like muscle cramps, fatigue, keep your energy up all day long, but without making you high and then crashing you. I tell people, don't drink it after 7 p.m. though, unless you want to be working all evening or night, or watching,
for some people,
being a marathon.
Some people, they need that, right? Some people,
if they're doing night shifts, or
I think that everybody has their own understanding of how well their body metabolizes things, and they're going to drink a small amount of something that has a little bit of caffeine in it, and what it's going to do to their bodies, and so for someone like myself, taking it at 6, 7 o'clock at night is really not a big deal for me. But that's just that's something you get a feel for.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and taste is really critical. I mean, everybody's looking for something that's, really nice tasting. It's not, it's got artificial flavors and colors and weird sweeteners, and you're looking at zero sugar, just 20 calories a serving, and then a really significant amount of electrolytes, which people often drink these sports energy drinks or sports drinks in general to try to get electrolyte replacements, and it's often they're very imbalanced, and they really don't do a good job of helping with electrolytes that people need. And then on the other side of it is, things like activated forms of the B vitamins, where we talk about Vitamin Mineral Max over and over again. Same thing with this formulation, Sports Energy Light. You're looking at activated forms of B vitamins. You're looking at highly absorbable minerals like the albion chelated minerals in there as well. And then the antioxidant protection in here, 500 milligrams of the same form of Power C Plus that we often talk about with a neutral pH for high absorption effects. And then also things like S-acetylglutathione, which is a very powerful, one of the most powerful antioxidants our body can even produce. And that's in there at 50 milligrams per serving, which is very significant. Makes it totally differentiated from anything in the market.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Now, it's deep into spring. Things are starting to warm up, although it's a little colder than usual here because we're heading into a Maunder cooling period, which happens every 180 years. And that's why we're having flooding in Texas. And the drought, by the way, in California is over. We've had rain every 2 to 3 days of every week now for the last month. And so a lot of people are panicking over the drought. They need to realize there's specific cycles, weather cycles. And they actually line up with the alignment of Jupiter and Saturn, and when that occurs every 180 years, there's a cooling period that lasts 65 to 75 years with increased rainfall. Now, what's happening, is we're still going to have warm weather here, and people are going to be outside doing things, despite the cloudiness we've had lately here in California, which is very unusual. And it's good for farmers because once we get beyond this drought, but physical activity, people are wanting to exercise. They want to not have cramps. They want to lose weight. They're trying to keep their energy level up, and they're trying to increase what I call their life years. They're years where their life is vigorous and they're not kind of dragging. Unfortunately, a lot of the medical profession, what it does is it gives people toxic polypharmacy, and it extends their dying process, but it doesn't extend their life. So they're dying for the last 30 years of their life, but they're not really very functional. And that's really unfortunate. That's why we talk about Nutrimeds fixing and bringing to the zone of compensation, bringing it back with activated vitamins, transamino acid chelates, metabolites, and super high concentrations of the kind of metabolites that will actually slow and reverse a lot of the process of aging. If you were to pick 2 or 3 things for this spring and summer, what would you pick as the top nutraceuticals that people should think about?
Well, I think that I go back to the shakes oftentimes just because they cover so much ground so quickly for people. I love using something like glycemic meal. People are, you're going, hey, here comes bathing season. I've got weight that I'd like to lose. Or you might be a person that already have blood sugar difficulties in managing that aspect, or carbohydrate cravings that are, hard to control. I love using glycemic meal for these kind of challenged patients. It tastes really good. It's so easy to use. You can use it throughout the day, either half servings or full servings if you want for a complete meal replacement. But it has an effect not only that you're drinking that shake and using it as a meal replacement, it affects all your food throughout the day and how your body utilizes it and can control glycemic spiking and so forth. So it's just amazing. And then other ones, the Ageless Energize, the Life Support. These things are very, very powerful, and they're so comprehensive. So if people get tired of just, hey, I got to take another capsule, but they still have to find good food to eat, these shakes just do such a tremendous job for helping their bodies.
Yeah. So can you give us some more details of what's in each of these?
Well, very comprehensive in their protein, carbohydrates, and fats, along with full spectrums of vitamins and minerals that you find in Vitamin Mineral Max as well, and just great tasting. So people are not disappointed when they get these.
Yeah, they really are amazing. And as I say, if you want to have a great spring and summer, if you want to not age between this year and next year, if you want to start approaching we call zero senescence, you want to take Nutrimeds only. And welcome back, and we have Ryan back, and we're talking about Nutrimeds. And by the way, if you go to look at our Nutrimeds list, you'll see we've expanded the number of Nutrimeds dramatically. You'll see all kinds of new ones that are launched, and I just want to run through some of them just to give you an idea. And I'll do a quick run through. We have adrenal support gland. This is the only glandular that has all the associated activated nutraceutical vitamins with it. We, of course, have ageless chocolate and vanilla, which is fantastic for aging you less by repairing your DNA and providing immunoglobulins, the vega proteins, etc. And then, of course, we have our ALC 1000 cetyl-carnitine. We have Allerblock, which is a natural antihistamine, and Allergon, which is actually a diamine oxidase that will actually get rid of histamine, and interleukin 1 beta, the fulcrum cytokine that causes inflammation and allergies. We have Allicin Med, the 200 milligrams more than Alamed, and a much better price than Alamed, and from a standardized source in Germany, so it's very, very high quality. We have Anti-Age Max, which is dimethyl resveratrol. This actually prevents not only telomere shortening on your chromosomes, which is important to prevent some of the factors of aging, but also to prevent cholesterol oxidation. It does a number of things. It has the effects on the SIRT1 gene that's similar to high exercise effects on the cells and DNA and mitochondria. We have berberstatin that's good for clearing the gut from pathogens. BioLVR, which is methylated pathway support, which will get rid of uric acid, homocysteine, and also help to restore neurotransmitters. Biotin Plus, this is important for energy, mitochondrial support, and also for working with cellular and tissue regeneration. We have our Bladder Up for hyperactive bladder. We have Bone Generator. I want to talk about Bone Generator for a minute, because a lot of people get confused. They think they can take any kind of calcium. They hear foolish people out there saying, just take our calcium. It's like the White Cliffs of Dover. And I'm thinking you want to make sure if you do get a bone calcium, it's bone crystals that are BSC certified free. And ours contains not only silica, boron, and manganese, but it's the actual proper hydroxyapatite crystals. And we recommend that with our Micelle D3, Myco D2, and full vitamin K2 and Collagen Max, because collagen is 42% of the dry weight of your bones. Our Bone Generator is pretty top-notch, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a unique form because it's a microcrystalline hydroxyapatite concentrate. I mean, it's a whole bone extract derived from a bovine source out of New Zealand, very clean, safe to use, but different than just taking a bone formula that people have thrown together and said, hey, we put in some calcium, we put in some different minerals that should help you. You know, these things are naturally occurring in the material that's right in Bone Generator, and in correct physiological ratios, too, that is designed that way by nature. And so rather than play these games with, well, how much elemental calcium and how much this, how much that, well, this is all built by nature in the right format and in the right ratios. And I think that's a huge advantage to why it's so successful as well for people. And there is a lot of concern, obviously, with just overdosing yourself with elemental calcium. Just because you want to pour more calcium into your body does not give you stronger bones. You need so many other components to really be healthy and supporting that bone. And, it also it makes me, want to remind people about things like Collagen Max. Because if you're seeing on the outside of your body, I like people to just look, at their nails. Are they weak? Are they brittle? Are they breaking? What about your hair? Is it thinning? Is it falling out? Is it breaking? Skin? Do you see a lot of wrinkling? Those are good outward signs that obviously collagen, elastin, keratin production are compromised. And when it comes to something like Collagen Max, what it's doing is helping with the rate-limiting step of the production of those substances in your body. And so if those things are happening to you, and that's the outside of your body, you can only imagine what's actually happening on the inside. And I bring this up in the bone area. It's because 30% of the actual bone is collagen. We don't think about it that way. We only think about it hard like cement. That's what people think bone is, and it's not. It's very dynamic. It needs collagen. The collagen is really going to be critical for where those minerals are placed. So just taking more calcium is not necessarily a good solution for people. And a lot of people, I think, are misled to their own detriment using it. And this is where, you're teaching them, Dr. Bill, on such a great level. It's so important that they're, not only getting the results they're looking for, but also not spending money on something that may not do them any good at all or even hurt them.
Well, I see a lot of people. One of the things that I've heard from people that support Genesis is they often think, well, I'll spread my money around. I'll get a little bit from this host and that host. Stop that, okay? Get all your nutraceuticals here at Nutrimed, because they're going to be professional level. They're going to be highest grade. If I don't invent them, I have them invented and we private label from the top doctors in the world. No one else on this or any other network has all the credentials and qualifications and connections I have. So I have connections in the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. There's 26,500 doctors, and I blog to them weekly. We have the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, which is the top academy in the world. That's the Academy of Environmental Medicine, the only academy that's really worldwide. It's not just the American. We have the American College for Advancement in Medicine, and I've been at this for more than a third of a century. So, for someone to try to think they're going to compete and understand, number one, the complexity and the simplicity at the same time of advanced nutraceuticals, which are basically like a pharmaceutical grade of a natural molecule, like a drug, but it's a natural molecule, inserted to fix a physiological abnormality or toxicological problem or genetic problem. For people to presume that they're somehow suddenly going to have this instant knowledge by reading one or two books or listen to a few shows is kind of crazy. And when people try to select their own things, they don't realize that they don't have the activated form, a high enough concentration, and the proper balance for their body. They can actually make their imbalances worse and may not address the problem they have at all. So when you hear people say, well, my doctor is giving me XYZ drug to try to reverse their bone density, they might increase bone density, but not strength, because there's no rebar or collagen in it. They may actually cause metastatic calcification, or a lot of the other drugs have other side effects. If you're taking blood thinners like Coumadin, it actually calcifies your arteries, and it depletes your body of vitamin K2, which is menaquinone 7. So people don't understand, and to be honest with you, the conventional doctors are so mistrained and untrained, they're completely ignorant on this area. And that doesn't, and by the way, that includes also chiropractors, naturopaths, and osteopaths, and so on, that don't have the knowledge in functional medicine, biochemistry, toxicology, infectious disease, and immunology. They don't. It just is. And it's extremely complicated. So when I lay out a protocol, it's designed to say, once we find out what your problem is, we can address it. And that's why I made this much more advanced intake form for consultations. And I will charge for my time, because people want to have a kind of quick and dirty answer, throwing 6 or 7 pages of history at me and tons of images. It has to be in an organized fashion for you to get a really concrete result, rather than kind of just pulling a little chit of paper out of a hat. It doesn't work that way. Or thinking somehow you can second guess. That's a waste of your time. You're going to take supplements that may harm you, or do nothing, or just basically waste your money. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to restore your health and your ability to create anti-aging and regenerative capacity in your tissues. A good example is Brain Mag. And Brain Mag is magnesium L-threonate and magnesium glycinate. This, along with our Brain Power and our Cognition Plus Synaptin, the Brain Mag is so important to protect you against S100 protein aggregates in your brain, inflammation of the microglia, which are the immune cells in your supporting network of your brain, and protecting your blood-brain barrier. People can't understand that if you have an autistic child, they need to be on Brain Mag and our DAN protocol, etc., to reverse the problem. I think people would have with all the travel and busyness is they'd be taking along with their Brain Mag to be taking Calm Mind. And I'll tell you, we're selling flats of the stuff. People love this. I have several taglines for it. I would put one of the tags is better than booze or anything else, MJ. If you want to float through life, you need your Calm Mind. And your Calm Mind and Brain Mag during the evening, and the Brain Mag and the Sports Energy late during the day. This is a fantastic combination. Don't have your Sports Energy Light after 7 p.m. unless you're planning on doing lots of work, reading, or a marathon of TV miniseries all night. Because you're going to be you'll be the Energizer Bunny. But Calm Mind, this is good stuff, isn't it?
It's a wonderful formula. There's a lot of challenges that people face, and they deal mostly from stress. And if people could raise their hand, it's like, who has stress in their life? They're like, it's 100%. We all deal with it, different varieties. But what's really neat about this formulation is, without creating like a sedative type of effect where your mind's not going to work and be clear and crisp and so forth, what you're doing is you're really changing the perception of stress and allowing the body's neurotransmitters to communicate like they should. Includes dopamine and serotonin, things that are feel-good neurotransmitters. Oftentimes, what we have is a lack of communication going on, and that can be caused by a deficiency in something like myelinositol, which is out of the B vitamin family. And so this formulation of Calm Mind uses as an anchor to it myo-inositol, 2 grams per scoop, along with a gram of taurine, magnesium glycinate, GABA, L-theanine, and these all work in concert to really make a quick effect. And so if somebody has high anxiety, really taking 1 or 2 scoops can change those feelings in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes. Also for issues like cravings, that people have at night, which is very frustrating for people. Oftentimes they don't even understand why. They have an uncontrollable urge to eat sweets or even to drink alcohol at certain times. And using something like Calm Mind can really break that cycle. And that, again, has to do with now you've got neurotransmitters that are communicating like they should, and all of a sudden your body goes, yeah, I don't have any urge to have that drink or have another drink. And as you called it, better than booze, because when people do it, they go, I really don't have that urge anymore. And that's a remarkable feeling for a lot of people. And it's designed, Calm Mind's designed so from kids on up to adults and elderly, it's a viable formulation.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the other kind of approaches that we tell for brain calming the brain are Cognition Plus and Brain Power, which have been pulsatine. A lot of people don't realize the brain's under a lot of oxidative stress. The most active mitochondria in your body for oxygen uptake are the eye and the retina, and next is the brain. And the amount of potential for free radical damage, you need to block that with things like our cell detox, glutathione, Nutrimedical, Regenerex, but very importantly, Cognition Plus Brain Power. And as people get older, they don't realize not only are they going to lose their vision because they're getting oxidative stress to the retina, but they're their brain. And the burnout effect is to create what's called S100 protein aggregates to break down the blood-brain barrier and to allow proteins in the brain to become immunogenically available to the immune system. So the brain starts to be attacked by migratory lymphocytes to get through these, basically the ventricles, the lateral ventricles, the fourth ventricle, etc., and the cerebrospinal fluid in the spinal canal. And that's what, for example, MS is. We know free radical diseases like, for example, ALS is a free radical disease in the anterior horn cell catalyzed by the Fenton reaction with free iron and heavy metals. So if you're going to stop that reaction, you want to use some of our nutraceuticals like NutriDefense, which is IP6. You want to use cell detox, glutathione, Nutrimedical, and Regenerex. You want to remyelinate, so you want to be using our Neurogen and Nutrifos, and potentially sphingolin, which is our myelin basic protein. There's a science to this, and you can actually do imaging tests to prove that that what you're doing is working. So it's not just airy-fairy. There's a scientific basis behind it. The next thing is the eyes. We talk about Can-C eye drops, which is dimethylcarnosine. I also recommend people take the cell detox glutathione for your eyes, which is very important because hydroxyl free radical is one of the most common. So cell detox glutathione and Neurogen for regenerating the connections in the optic nerve head. A lot of people think that it's just intraocular pressure causes optic neuritis, and it's not. 1/3 of people that have optic and retinal degeneration actually have low or normal pressures in their eye. Next one is Carbo Block, and this is amazing stuff. There's the drug that doctors give in the pharmacy is called acarbose, which is basically an enzyme that's similar, but ours is better, more powerful, just like our lactose blocker is the only neutral pH lactase, I call it lactase eliminator, should be, because lactose, it's just glucose and galactose, it's a disaccharide. If you don't get rid of it, you're actually going to grow bad bacteria in your gut. So if you've got irritable bowel syndrome or dysbiosis, which can lead to deconjugating toxins and cancer, believe it or not, lactose sitting in your gut is one of the bad factors that can contribute to that. So Carbo Blocker, I tell people if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to keep your blood insulin down, because insulin is a very bad toxin besides elevated blood sugar, 50% of the population over 60, at least, it's probably higher than that, but at least 50% are metabolic syndrome or elevated insulin. And the ways to reverse it are leptin metabolic, diabetoline, biotin plus, minerals plus, and most importantly, leptin metabolic. And the Carbo Blocker keeps that blood sugar down, so it keeps your insulin lower. And the lactose blocker keeps your lactose down if you're going to have milk products, which less than 2% of the population has the enzymes to break down milk sugar. So these are all kind of tweaking your body to say, hey, only 2% of the population has the enzymes to handle lactose. The rest of us, if you have it, it's going to contribute to abnormal overgrowth of gut bacteria, leaky gut syndrome, food allergies, and elevated blood insulin, which drives eventually your liver to do a thing called gluconeogenesis to make sugar out of protein and fat. And that's why I call it the Snicker bar per hour effect, with elevated glucagon and elevated liver production of fatty acids. So you can get fatty liver, or you actually can make sugar. So even in the sugar you don't eat, your body will say, hey, no problem, kidneys and liver, you guys make lots of sugar for us. And so keeping insulin down is also very important. And that's why when I see people think, well, I just did surgery, I did this and that to lose weight. Well, if you haven't fixed the metabolism, it's in vain, because the heart disease, the neurological problems, because diabetes of the brain is Alzheimer's. That's what it is. I mean, the doctors may not tell you that, but Alzheimer's is when your astrocytes become resistant to insulin, and they no longer can metabolize sugar, so you have to go to MCT, or medium chain triglycerides, like coconut milk. So it's a big deal, and of course, conventional wisdom in this area is so poor. The doctors basically, all they do is get the magic script pad out and fire out another script at you, and if you don't get well, it's your fault because they get the magic script pad. That's just the way it is. So carbo block, let's talk about that, and lactose blocker. These are amazing. I call twins, blocking sugar and blocking milk lactose.
Yeah, I think for the most people out there, the carbo blocker becomes one of the most important because obviously carbohydrate absorption, we get a massive spike in glucose. That is a perpetual problem for many, many Americans and even people all across the world. And being able to knock down the effectiveness, or I should say improving the effectiveness by knocking down these glucose spikes or these continual waves that are crashing against us. And when I say waves, every time we're eating carbohydrates that get rapidly absorbed, the blood sugar goes up and it creates this wave of inflammation. That's creating more oxidative stress, that's doing damage to our body over days and months and years, and it's perpetual. So something like CarboBlock, what you've done is you've slowed down the glycemic response to all your foods, and particularly the carbohydrate source that are creating more of these glucose spikes and that damage. So that's big. People that know they have a lactose challenge certainly are looking for help. And lactose, as you say, gets snuck in a lot of different areas that oftentimes people are like, I don't even know where I'm getting it from, but I'm having challenges. Being able to use something like lactose blocker is a very cutting-edge enzyme. It's different than what people have seen before in enzymes regarding lactose digestion, is because this one has a neutral pH component to it, meaning that it's actually not working in the stomach where all the rest of them do. This is working in the small intestine to break down lactose. And that's important because that's where 80% of all lactose needs to be degraded. And so most lactose enzyme formulas do not work there. And so you're really not getting the main beneficial effect that you're looking for. So this is a...
So, Ryan, that was a good discussion, by the way.
Yeah.
It explains a lot of the reasons why we're constantly trying to kind of teach people against the storm. We have things like, for example, our eye drops, as a Can-C, we have carnosine, we have Cell Defense, which I consider one of the most important nutraceuticals because it's the most important component. Curcumin, or turmeric, is one of the most potent things to stop vascular disease and cancer. But we have the best delivery system, a slow-release delivery system, in a special caplet, Cell Defense. And then, of course, one of my next is Cell Detox Glutathione. When people say, well, we're going to have, protein from a hemp plant, whatever. I think that's minuscule compared to actual cell detox glutathione, which is the acetylglutathione. That's even more powerful, by the way, than the glutathione we would give intravenously when we put people in hyperbaric oxygen in our clinic in Denver. So let's talk about this for a minute. Cell Defense and Cell Detox Glutathione, these are kind of like both very, very important to block free radicals, heal tissues, and block cardiovascular disease, and even brain inflammation of the microglia. And the back of the retina, they're very, very important, the two of them.
Well, Cell Defense should be one of the more popular things that people use because it's bioavailable curcumin and curcuminoids. Its delivery system is very unique, unlike what you find in most curcumin formulas, which curcumin's hard for the body to absorb. People need to realize that. It's got short half-life, and it does not absorb well, so it needs some help. And so in this format, the Cell Defense is delivered in a controlled-release tablet, and it also is enhanced with the material known as bioperin that's been shown to enhance the absorption of curcumin in humans by 2,000% over just using curcumin alone. And so those are big advantages to making sure that it not only gets in the body, but that it can provide that antioxidant protection that you're looking for. We've talked many times that this version of the curcumin also found in things like Regenerex, very important in their antioxidant function, because as you're bringing up glutathione, and I want to mention the pathway that your body uses to recognize what kind of challenges it's facing. A key communication molecule is called NRF2. And over time, if people are inflamed or sick for long periods of time, there may be or just age, there may be this aspect where NRF2 is not working like it should. And so curcumin is one of these substances that have, mystified people for thousands of years because it can do so many different things. And what science has uncovered is it's a key driver of what's known as NRF2 regulation. And so by doing this, it can help the body to recognize when it needs to produce its own antioxidants, including things like glutathione. So it's a good first step to be using that formula. Also detoxification pathway regulation, as well as inflammatory balance. Those are three key areas that curcumin is now better understood as to why and how it does all these great things in our bodies. Now, when it comes to using something like cell detox glutathione, this is a great form of glutathione if you're using one, because it doesn't fall apart during the digestive process, so that you're absorbing it and can get it into the red blood cells, and it can be used just like the native antioxidant that we want to produce in our bodies. But in some cases, we're so far down that line of inflammation or cytotoxicity that our bodies really are not doing a good job of producing glutathione. We need that external help to kind of bring the body back under control, and so that's a neat way to look at that formulation, cell detox glutathione.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, when we approach these, we kind of weave them together in what we call an artful fashion. When I also put in the protocols I'll be expanding in the book, Dr. Yu, the kind of conventional and advanced tests that you can actually do. You can do tests like organic acids to look at change in brain chemistry. You can look at your genetics to see what weaknesses are present, so you know that certain supplements are going to be more important, like ultrathymine B1. It's very protective of the kidneys and the brain against oxidative stress and a thing called Wernicke-Korsakoff encephalopathy, where the hippocampus is damaged and the acetylcholine-dependent memory card file system is damaged. So it protects peripheral nerves, it protects your kidneys, and it protects the parts of the brain called the cholinergic systems that actually regulate your memory and your learning ability. And the problem is, you see, the conventional doctors, let's say they're dealing with an alcoholic, they should know it's not just, we used to use a bag of just, thiamine. Now we realize that if you don't have the fat-soluble thiamine, you're still going to put that person at risk of developing a dementing illness that'll destroy the hippocampus and their insular part of the Wernicke's and Korsakoff areas of their temporal lobe of their brain. And there's no need for it. I mean, it really isn't. And unfortunately, the conventional doctors are so mistrained or untrained and know so little biochemistry, it's disturbing. And unfortunately, patients usually don't do this unless they listen to the program. Like we had one lady who was recently visiting us, and she's quite smart, so she's listened to the programs over the past 10 years. And what she does is she's literally has saved hundreds of people by just absorbing the information and going with them to the doctor, and realized that she asked the doctors questions. And I asked her, I said, what percentage, and she actually visited over the weekend, I said, what percentage of the doctors have an answer to any of the questions you give? She said 0. Not one of the doctors has an answer for any of the questions I raised that are based on listening to the program. That's really disturbing. For example, most people are aware that HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors like Zocor, Lipitor, and Crestor will promote and cause diabetes, proven in females, which are lawsuits now going on by big legal firms against the drug companies that make these, and they're about to prove it in males too. So the alternative is cod liver liquid, which gives you not only the fat-soluble vitamins, but it will lower your cholesterol, and then anti-H Max prevents cholesterol oxidation, and then Omega Supreme Krill, and Omega Supreme, the krill oil, of course, has an astaxanthin that will protect against oxidation of fatty acids and cholesterol. And the Omega Supreme, you don't want to have plaque formation, also take Allicin Med, which will kill off the nanobacteria, which if you need with free iron, so you want a Keelar Max to pull out the free iron and heavy metals. That's NutriDefense for the IP6 to get the iron out, and Keelar Max and our liquid zeolite, the only non-acid wash zeolite. So, you see, cod liver liquid's pretty neat stuff, isn't it? And it's also orange flavored, so my wife, Michelle, gives it to our daughter Why take a dangerous drug that'll dismyelinate your brain and make you demented, like Dr. Graveline from NASA, who was on the show 4 years ago? And he got transient global amnesia caused by taking a drug that his doctor recommended, and he just was like a good doobie. Said, well, yeah, I'll take it, doc, and he took it. And after only a matter of weeks, he couldn't recognize his wife. He basically became temporarily demented. And people just don't understand this stuff. And the fact is, doctors need to be called on the mat and say, you need to take these courses and join these academies because you don't know what you're doing. And they don't. They really don't. And I'm willing to say that. I'm retired. I can say that. And I would say it even when I was in practice. And I was continuously in trouble because of it, because I would point out that people were doing things that were stupid or dangerous. Next one I like is Cognition Plus, Smarter in an Hour pill. And, of course, our Collagen Max we talked about earlier. But let's talk about Cognition Plus and brain power. If you're trying to do well in school, if you want to keep all your multitasking abilities in middle life, if you don't want to end up losing, running out of brain before you run out of life, so you're sitting around drooling in a nursing home for the rest of your life for 20 years, you better take brain power and Cognition Plus and Neurogen to keep your myelination pathways normalized so you don't lose saltatory nerve conduction between different areas of your cortex. People say, how's that important? I say, well, that's like your fiber optic cables between different parts of your brain. If those things go, there's no computing happening. Interesting, hey?
Yeah. I think that people find out about these viable options and alternatives, and then they recognize that they would like to take those first steps first, which makes so much sense. And then being able to keep your common sense is a really critical element. That you realize that why not make sure that you've dealt with nutrient deficiencies first? It would be like you're really, really hungry and you're looking, at all different alternatives other than food. You're like, well, why wouldn't you just eat something? You're like, oh, because they told me, what, food's not necessary. All I need is something else to suppress the mechanism of my hunger. You're like, what? Just use food. Yeah. Oh, I guess I could do that. Well, that's what we're talking about here. You're just using various forms of food, natural substances. That
they're natural molecules. Or, what a nutraceutical is a biological molecule at a super high concentration with an excellent delivery system that has if you want to call it a way of delivering it that also maintains high absorption over a long period of time. Like our Nutritrol, the only long-acting alpha-lipoic acid in the world. But if you want to stay well, don't get things from elsewhere. Just get Nutrimeds. We'll custom design it. We'll get a protocol that'll work for you. We'll tell you what tests to prove they are on track to make sure it works, whether it's a QRMA or functional blood, urine, stool tests. Quantitative electroencephalogram, easy test, not expensive. A lot of tests are often covered by even your insurance. And we'll provide that here for you at Nutrimedical. It's unique from nowhere else. They have the breads of knowledge to help